Hello and welcome back to the Human Instrumentality podcast. We are
Welcome.
back. We return for episode 6, Return of the Podcast. It's been a pretty crazy week this week, so we're coming in late at the end of the week,
Yeah, I've
but
been real busy. Very busy.
we wouldn't miss a week, so here we are. I feel like this will probably go up on you'll be listening to this on Monday, and I feel pretty good about recording on Sunday and posting on Monday from now on. So
Is that what you want to do?
yeah, because Monday is a good day to put it up, right? You have the whole week to get through it.
Yeah.
I feel good about that. So from now
Yeah,
on,
Sunday nights I'm usually free.
yep. So from now on, our schedule will
That's
be
gonna be
uploads on Monday. Uh, I'm HunterJawa, your host, and I'm joined as always by my good friend Vanillafish.
aka LAN party master, aka that's all I got.
So this past week, you've been living the life of Ethernet cables and local area networks.
Yes.
Uh, you had a huge LAN party in your garage, which is an annual event.
Yeah. Well, one time it was biannual.
One
Then
time.
yeah, that one time. Now it's back to annual probably.
Do you wanna tell us a little bit about the process of setting up that 25 computer fortress?
Well, we take my very small garage, which doesn't even fit two cars in it anymore. We clean it out. We throw some tables down. We start laying some extension cords to every single outlet in my house and outside the house. We get it all looking pretty nice. Everyone shows up. They bring their laptops. They bring their desktops. They bring their computers. And then if it works out, everything connects. Everything's good to go. We lay down those Ethernet cords. We got those switches going. We got those routers going. And thankfully, this time, every single thing went off without a hitch. No power outages. No breakers needed to be messed with, and the connection always worked.
Yeah, it
So
seems
shouts
like
out.
seems like you finally mastered it this time.
Yeah, I think what helped was Vic brought a 16 port switch, which covered most people's computers. Usually, before we had to string like six different like routers and switches together, but now we got it down.
So was the total of number of computers 25, or was it like less than
I
that at once?
I think at its height it was about 23.
That would be the most ever, right?
I I don't know. I remember the largest turnout was at the second party, but a lot of people didn't bring their computers. And I had some people saying this wasn't the biggest turnout, but I think this was the most computers we ever had because we definitely had to accommodate for a lot.
All
So
right,
yeah, I
cool.
think this was the largest amount of computers at a party so far,
A lot of Counter Strike was played.
as always.
Uh, I'm still no good at that game, but it's pretty fun to play with a group of friends.
Yeah, it's like that's like the quintessential game to play when you're in a local area network.
I mean, there's some other games too, but I feel like that's probably the most approachable when you take into consideration like StarCraft and some MOBA games or whatever.
Yeah, this definitely out of all those has like this. I guess the it's real easy to get into, even if you're not very good. Granted, some people are very good at it,
Yeah.
Steven. But other than that, it's a pretty fun game. Classic.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the party was pretty fun. But that's why we're coming in late this week. It's been pretty busy trying to get that all set up and sleeping off
Yeah,
the after effects. Let's
yeah. It
just say
takes like half a week to set it up. Then there's the actual party, and then there's like the 3 days of rehab.
we lived Moss
Oh,
that day. It,
definitely.
it takes time to recover. So
I'm still not fully covered.
but other than that, there was some gaming this week. So why don't you tell us what you've been up to in terms of games?
Well, the first thing I'll probably talk about is what we played it at the LAN party, and the day before the party, we wanted to test out, run like some tests for connection and whatnot. and someone brought this game over. It's called Artemis, and it's a spaceship bridge simulator. It's basically like if you can make Star Trek into a game, this is what it was. And you just need 6 computers, well 7 if you want to put up like a main screen. So when we were supposed to be doing work in my garage, we played this for like 5 hours, and you have 5 different computers, and one person runs like flies the ship, one mans weapons, one does engineering, one does comms, and one does science, and then there's also a captain who basically tells everyone what to do, and you fly your ship around and fight other ships, do other things, dock, everything you do in a real spaceship, and it's pretty neat.
So like everyone's monitor kind of displays a different view. It's sort of like the interior of a spaceship when you have it set up correctly, because everyone just kind of has a display with the information they need to communicate on it
Yeah,
with the rest of the crew, and no one person can command the ship all by themselves. Like everyone has to kind of cooperate,
work together.
and
Yeah.
yeah, you have to actually like talk, in real life to communicate what's going on to each other, and yeah, it's pretty fun. I didn't quite understand. I was always playing as the captain, which meant I didn't actually have a computer. I was just kind of monitoring everybody and sending things back and forth between people. I didn't quite understand what the goal of the game was, besides not dying.
Yeah, it's a pretty bare bones game. I think it's programmed by one guy, and so the day before we did some like there were missions we did, and I think the game mode we played at the party was just basically we're throwing you in this area of space. There's all this like random stuff out here, and you just have to survive basically.
Yeah, it seems pretty simple so far, but I think the fun of the game comes from everyone having to communicate with each other in real life and having to combine all the different information on the monitors together.
Yeah, it's if you got 6 people and you got 5 computers or 6, you have to run the server on one.
Yeah.
But hey, try it out, Artemis. It's a lot of fun.
I think my favorite role was probably comms, just because you really have nothing to do with like combat or flying the ship or anything like that, but you just read off like dialogue messages from other ships, and I
Yeah,
think that
basically you get to talk shit.
that's the character who is probably, I mean, that's the person who's probably like the most in character out of everybody,
Yeah,
because you have to like deal with like role playing stuff actually happening in the world, so that seemed pretty fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely play that game.
Yeah, well, if you have a group of friends, I assume by yourself it's not possible.
It is possible with 3 people, but I'd probably try and get at least like 5.
All right, anything else?
I fire up the PS2 this week. Been playing a lot of Persona 4. We talked about this before, but very good game.
You're
Got
playing,
to the
so
point now where I have to grind, so I kind of put it on the back burner for a little bit. I'll go back. I'll probably play it tonight.
you're playing that
But
inferior PS2 version, though,
yeah,
so I can't exactly identify with your experience having played the superior PlayStation Vita version, which I recommend to all if you want to play that game. But
well, first
regardless, I'm sure
can
it's
you
still
can
pretty
you
good.
recommend people buy a Vita right now?
Yeah, man, sure.
That's expensive.
Yeah, but you get that PlayStation Plus subscription. That's like $50 extra on
Yeah,
top
all
of
I'm
the.
saying is you go down anywhere. You go down to the grocery store, you buy a PlayStation 2 Slim for $50. I'll lend you my copy of Persona 4. You just save money. You're still good.
You gotta get that Valentine's Day event. That's like the most important scene in the entire game.
Hey,
Um,
all I'm gonna say is I could romance all the girls I want with no consequences.
Yukiko gave me a chocolate so big I could barely even carry it. She was all embarrassed because she made too much, but I ate it all. I ate every single bite. It was romantic as fuck. So that's what you're missing
All
out
right, I
on.
see you there. Okay, I see you.
Um,
I I will say though, we had this conversation before again, but alongside playing Persona 4, I turn on my Xbox, I play a little Persona 4 Arena. I'm in that Persona 4 mood right now. and I playing a little bit of arcade mode with Arena, and I never really noticed it because I never played the two like back to back, but I was like switching between the two on like the hour, and I really like old Chie more than new Chie. Maybe because like now I notice the change like is way more drastic. So I'm gonna stick with my roots here and firmly say old Chie is best Chie.
All right. Well, like that's just like your opinion, man. Uh, it's not the right opinion, but I respect it.
All right.
Uh, I don't know if I talked about this last time, but I do want to play Persona 4 Arena for the story, visual novel stuff at some point.
Yeah,
But I know that like a good portion of the story is like references to Persona 3 as well.
yeah. There's a lot
So,
of Persona 3 stuff, which I also have if you want to borrow that.
well, I don't have a PS2, but
Oh shit, you fucked up.
I'll get that game. I'll get the portable version someday and give it a try. And then,
Vincent from Catherine is in the portable version.
yeah. Well, I've heard like mixed things in the portable version, which is why I've held off
Yeah.
because it changes the 3D environments into like a 2D point and click,
Mhm.
which I mean, it's not that important in because the dungeons are still in 3D, which is I guess
Yeah.
the most important part for exploring and stuff. But it is a little disappointing. I don't really understand why they would do that.
Yeah. I don't know why they do that.
And I also this is in all the versions of the game, but I realized that in Persona 3 you don't have control of your whole party. You only control the main character. I just want to control everybody. I'm a control freak.
All right, chill out.
Well, like I've heard
Is
that
Control Freak the is that the
yeah,
villain from Teen Titans?
he's in Teen Titans, yeah. I've
Best
heard that
villain.
the computer characters can do well for themselves and they'll attack weaknesses and stuff, but I'm just not about that. I feel like I just want to be in control of everything that happens, especially since I just got done with 4 and that's what I've been doing the whole time.
Yeah. What it always comes down to is whichever one you play first is usually your favorite.
Yeah, I've heard that too because I know a lot of people who definitely prefer 3 over 4.
Yeah, which I don't think is real.
But
I think
knowing that
four is
people
way
think
better.
that, I'm sure that 3 is not like a bad game by any means.
No, it's a good game,
So it's
but
probably worth playing.
Persona 4, Jesus Christ, that's the game.
So on my Persona quest will continue with Persona 3, and then I'll move on to Arena. And in about 5 years, I'll get back to you guys, tell you how it went.
The arena's good as hell.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty fun to play the multiplayer and stuff, but story,
I
I
I
don't know.
played my first online match today. I won.
Wow, you won the first time.
1-0.
What character?
Handedly. Elizabeth.
All right, nice, nice,
She's my main. It was a mirror match, and I smoked him.
respect. Um, so other than Persona stuff, is there any other games you wanted to drop?
Um, let's see what else. I haven't really been playing anything else. Sticking with them Persona. Playing a little Osu on the computer.
Yeah,
Still suck at it.
yeah, not much to say about that, but it's a fun little Elite Beat Agents spin-off, not really spin-off,
No,
spiritual
not a
successor.
spin.
Spiritual
I don't even
successor.
think it's that. I think it's just a. I think it's Elite Beat Agents freeware with anime songs.
The entire game is user-generated content, right?
Yeah,
So that goes both ways, I guess. There's some pretty good stuff in there, but there's some pretty rough content in there as well.
yeah. Don't play shitty content.
No. All right. Guess I'll I'll jump in here.
Yeah, you
This
played more than me.
this week I've been playing Hotline Miami, which I've been hearing a lot about since it came out. I think it was actually
Sequel coming out.
yeah. I think Hotline Miami came out earlier this year. Actually, it's not even a year old, and the sequel's announced. But I'm finally getting to play the original,
No,
and
it was definitely last year. It was late last year.
late last year. Okay.
I'll fact check it.
I mean, it's fine either way. It's pretty close. Um, Finally got to play it, and I gotta say, all the good stuff you've heard about this game is true. And when you watch like just footage of it, it does look like the kind of flash game you'd play online in your browser. But when you actually like get your hands on it, you realize that it couldn't be that, and it's got a lot of cool detail, and it's a much deeper game than it looks like when you first look at it. So yeah, it hits that same nerve that Super Meat Boy does, which is it's pretty intensely difficult, but like the difficulty, as soon as you die, you're going again, and it takes like less than a minute, no matter what, to get back to where you were.
Yeah.
So there's never any frustration where you die and you have to replay like 5 or more minutes of the game you already did. It's literally like you failed that challenge, you're going to be back to that spot to try it again in the next like 30 seconds. So it's really rapid fire, and it's fun to like really quickly evaluate what happened on your last run and how you can improve and get past that part. And also, there's like, it feels like there's a recommended path through a lot of the obstacles where there's items lying around that you're supposed to use, or certain ways you're supposed to go for the best results. But if you get like really crazy and just start shooting everywhere, you could come out of it on top if you get lucky. It's a pretty chaotic game.
Also, that soundtrack's really good.
Yeah, it's probably like the best soundtrack in any game ever created. It's like 2 hours or something of music, just these bumping club beats. It's pretty fun. I've been blasting out my speakers. It really enhances the experience somehow. I don't really know how, but it does.
Also, October 23rd, 2012.
That's when it came out.
Yeah, I was right.
Okay, so about 2 years after it comes out, it's getting a sequel, I guess. I beat the game. I only finished. There's actually 2 campaigns in the game. I finished the first one. I think the second one is way shorter, so it's more of like an epilogue type thing.
Is it harder?
It changes the rules a bit because you play as a different character.
Ah,
In the first campaign, you can pick up any weapon that you find, but you always start with your fists, and you can choose like masks that give you different abilities. But in the second campaign, you can't choose masks, and you always have the same weapon, which can't be dropped or broken.
interesting.
So yeah, it kind of changes the way you play a little bit. But I've only done the first level as that character, so
Ah,
I think so far I definitely prefer the first guy. Just it feels more personal how you handle
yeah.
stuff. But I think the second campaign's more of a epilogue type thing, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, that's a really great game. It's hard
Yeah,
to
I really want to
describe.
get around to playing that.
Yeah, you really should. It's not expensive. It's coming to PSN next week,
Wow.
and yeah, it's really fun, really easy to get into, and just have a good time. Also on PSN this week, they for the PlayStation Plus subscribers, they put up a game called God Eater Burst, which is a like extremely blatant ripoff of Monster Hunter in about every conceivable way. And
But it's
I've
got cute
actually
girls.
it does have cute girls, but so does Monster Hunter. To be fair, I've never actually played a Monster Hunter game at length, so I kind of jumped into this because it was free and I wanted to see what that kind of game was about. And I can see what people like about that sort of game. It definitely has a multiplayer focus, but you can play by yourself if you want to and go out and hunt monsters. There's a lot of character customization. There's a lot of collecting things and crafting, and it tries to have a story, and the story is pretty bad.
Is it fun though?
Um, yeah, it feels okay. Like it's hard to say. Like I was playing it yesterday, and when you're playing by yourself, it takes like upwards of an hour to kill or finish a mission.
Jesus.
And I feel like it's because I finished the first set of missions by playing the ball once, and I unlocked the second set and started that. And the first mission on that is taking like an hour, and I can't kill this thing. And I feel like I'm supposed to just know that I need to play this first set of missions like a bunch of different times to get items and grind up.
Yeah, it sounds Monster Huntery.
But I've only played each one of them once, so I think the point of the game is to play stuff a lot and collect certain items so you can craft gear and then attack the next set of missions. So I don't know if I'm all about that, like replaying stuff, but it is like structurally a pretty fun game, I guess. Oh,
For free, why not?
yeah, it's free. The other thing that's different than Monster Hunter is that every character gets a gun in addition to like their huge weapon thing. So it kind of turns into a third-person shooter when you pull out your gun, which is like a cool idea because every character has one, and there's different kinds of guns you can use. So you can have like a team with melee characters and snipers, or a guy with a shotgun to run in and blow stuff away. There's a lot of different ways to like customize your character that way. And also,
Hmm.
there's certain types of ammo you can get that are only for shooting your teammates.
Shooting
And
your teammates.
yeah, but they all
Is that
have
a good thing
beneficial
or a bad
effects. Yeah, it's like for buffing your teammates.
thing? Oh, okay.
So you can have a teammate with a sniper rifle that shoots health bullets at everybody from afar
That's
to
pretty
heal them.
dope.
It is pretty dope. But the problem with that is that the controls for the shooting are really terrible because this is not it's not actually a PS Vita game. It's a PSP game. So you can't use the right stick at all.
Oh boy.
So when you pull your gun out, you can only shoot the direction that you're facing with no reticle by default. You can enter a mode that's called aim mode that gives you a reticle, but you can't use a stick to control it. You have to reach up from the control stick to the D-pad, which is right above it, and use that to aim. So basically, you have to stand still, and you can't move or run away from monsters that are coming at you while you're aiming your gun, and you can't aim while you're running. So that's kind of awkward and frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to see if I can get some friends to play with me who have PlayStation Plus, so I can
Yeah,
report
that
back
that
on the
seems like something
multiplayer.
you'd have to play with more people.
I'm sure the game would progress more quickly with more people playing with you because I don't think difficulty scales. So maybe I'll report back on that if the multiplayer is pretty fun. But I'll probably try and keep at it because I want to understand this sort of game and why it's so popular, I guess. Um, Other than that, I've been playing an RPG on the PS Vita called Fate Extra. Uh, it's a pretty fan servicey spin off of the Fate Stay Night franchise, which I'm a pretty big fan of for whatever reason. And
Yeah, you like that too much. It's not even that good.
yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what the big deal is either, but I like it. And it's a pretty fun game. It's an interesting game because of the combat system, which is turn based. It's a turn based RPG, but it has like a rock paper scissors system where you move 6 times on your turn, and you have to like choose the correct commands to counter your opponent's moves that you can't see. So the idea of the game is that the more you fight certain opponents or the more you learn about opponents, you can predict their moves better and
Hmm.
counter them. Which it's kind of cool in practice, but when you first enter a dungeon, you're fighting all new enemies. You have to heal a lot and just guess to figure out what their patterns are. So it kind of sucks when you like first enter a dungeon, you pick every single wrong move and die in one turn, and then you have to start the dungeon all over because you can't save inside of dungeons.
Oh, that just sounds like bad design to me.
Yeah, but like you can start to figure out tricks like you can heal towards the end of your turn so that if you're low in health and everything went wrong, you get a heal at the end so you don't die in the last hit or something like that. But at first, I was definitely dying a lot because I didn't know how to fight enemies when you first encounter them.
Hmm.
Story wise, though, it's pretty good. Like people would probably write it off because it's a spin off, but the writer of the original visual novel was the scenario writer for this game, and it's definitely like a weird non-canon scenario, but it's pretty cool and mysterious, and the dialogue's pretty good, and it definitely has like straight up visual novel segments. It's not just like RPG
That's good.
gameplay. So if you like the original visual novel, there's definitely a lot of stuff in this game to like. That said,
Well,
if you
first you got to find someone who likes that novel.
yeah yeah if you don't like the franchise, there's gonna be a lot of gobbledygook that you're not gonna understand at all. So I guess I can't recommend it unless you're a fan. But there is like hella fan service in this game.
I think it had to be like a year ago because I haven't been to GameStop in like the past year, but I saw someone buying that like the day it released there, and like I saw him pick it up. He probably had a ponytail, he probably had a fedora, and I think I chuckled and he saw me and he just gave me a mean look. So that's how I remember that game.
Okay, well, in Japan it came with a Figma with a special edition of the
Well,
game.
that's dope.
That's pretty dope. But in America, no Figma.
That's
So
pretty lame.
that
Why
is
buy
pretty
it in
lame.
America then?
Um,
Import.
yeah, I should have imported it. The PSP is not even region locked. What am I doing?
Yeah, you fucked up.
But I have to comment. Uh, one of the best parts of the franchise is that it's kind of silly, but it's definitely a fun thing. All the characters are like historical figures, like reworked into this anime style. So I'm like two bosses into the game, and the two bosses I fought so far are Francis Drake, who is a lady and a pirate, and Robin Hood.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, what other game can you fight Robin Hood in? There's none.
Um, Connect Disney.
Nope, that doesn't exist. So yeah, if you're a fan of that franchise, this game is pretty interesting. It's not like a perfect RPG or particularly deep, but it has some good stuff going on for it. So definitely check that out. Um, in terms of games I'm playing that week, that's pretty much it. Did you have anything else to add about the party or some games?
Um, Party was good. And if you out there want to come to the next one, just hit your boy up. I'll save you a spot, maybe. That's not a promise. That's not a guarantee. There's a waiting list, and let's just say it's full for next time. So if you want to call up, get your spot reserved for the I don't know, like eighth party. Maybe I could squeeze you in. Just let me know.
Eventually, we'll start like renting a warehouse, and we'll
Yeah.
just have unlimited space. So
No, it'll still be real selective.
okay, yeah, it'll still be full, but we'll have a bigger space eventually. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Everyone will pitch in a fiver, and we'll rent out that warehouse.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
how expensive can they be?
I think it costs like $20.
Yeah.
It's like nothing. Big news this week. Microsoft. Well, we talked about this last week in our E3 special. We returned from the show the next day, so that was another reason we were so tired this week.
Yeah, I
But
was well, a whole weekend at E3, I was pretty wiped. Then I had to set up for the party. Can you believe that?
that was intense. I can't believe you made it. But we're back now, and a week later, Microsoft has gone back and reversed everything that people were complaining about at E3.
I think they had to do it.
Just to explain, at E3, Microsoft failed to justify these restrictions they placed on the Xbox One, their new console. So the console would have to connect to the internet once a day to be used, and there would be no way for users to buy or sell used games. You'd have to buy games new. If you wanted to lend a game to a friend, you'd have to pay for it again. So obviously people had some big issues with that, and as we well documented last week, Sony came out swinging and took a position as like a friend to the consumer, who have no such restrictions and allow used games. But this week, Microsoft has taken all that back. So the Xbox One will now be able to play used games, and you won't have to connect to the internet. It's no longer region locked. It's a pretty good PR move overall, I would say.
Yeah, and at this point, they definitely had to do it because they were definitely in a huge hole already. And it was either see if you could crawl out or at least get back on your feet again. What I think is funny though is all of the stuff they were like bragging about at E3, now they can't do any of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not really 100% sure about that. Because last week we talked about the cloud and how games being required to be online would allow uh, processing to be offloaded to remote servers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, and I'm not 100% how sure. I'm not 100% sure how that's gonna work.
Yeah, I don't think though. I think they made a release saying that that won't be like a thing anymore, nor will the sharing of games within your like family and stuff like that.
Huh? So it's tied to your. Wait, what does that mean? Within your family?
That dumb thing where like the 10 people, they were going on and on about how if it's in your library, your like quote family could play it.
Right.
I didn't know how that really worked, but that won't be a thing anymore.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be because anybody who wants to could use it at this point, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really sure what that means either. I guess it kind of to look at the other way, perspective on it, it kind of takes away what made the Xbox One special
Yeah.
because there was definite downsides to
But it had its own like, hey, some stuff about it was shitty, but you stop to think like, well, because of this, they're doing some kind of neat things, but for me, it still like wasn't enough. Now it's basically like, well, now this is just a more expensive PS4
Yeah, and
with
to
less
be
with more
fair,
specs.
I don't support them having these restrictions or anything like that. And I think their job at E3 was to make me change my mind and
Yeah,
explain what the benefit was, like we said, and they didn't. So instead of doing that job even now, they've kind of just given up, which it doesn't really inspire a whole lot of confidence.
yeah.
Like,
I think this will be the third time I'm saying it on this podcast, but there is no way I'm going to buy an Xbox One, even after this.
you know what? Like, before this announcement, I think I would have to say I would never buy one just on principle because I really don't support
Yeah,
those decisions. And now, like, if it was down the line or something and there was a game I really wanted to play on there or whatever, I wouldn't have a problem with getting it. It wouldn't interfere with my core values. But just based on the competition between the two products at launch, I'm definitely still more interested in the PS4. I would say primarily because it doesn't have the Kinect, and it's a whole lot cheaper because of that.
hmm
But yeah, I think overall that's pretty good news, and I feel happy for people who really
yeah.
wanted
It's
to get
it's
the
good
next
for
Xbox.
now. I like the few people I knew who definitely want to stick with an Xbox. At least now they're not supporting terrible business practice, and they can
Well,
still enjoy their Halo.
even besides that, yeah, like the people who really wanted to get the next Xbox, now they don't have to put up with all this shit they were gonna have to put up with. Because
Yeah.
even there was definitely people who wanted to get it in spite of what was happening, just because they knew the games they loved were gonna be on there. And to be fair, Microsoft showed more exclusives at E3, and they won some people over that way. So those people won't have to put up with a whole lot of garbage to get to the games they want to play. Somebody pointed this out to me earlier today, actually, but Microsoft promised to show 15 new, or I'm sorry, 15 exclusive franchises that would be on the Xbox One in the first year. And at E3 they showed 14.
Oh.
Sony, well, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because Sony said they were going to have like something like 20 exclusives in their first year, and they only showed 5.
Oh.
So right now the library at launch, or during the launch window, I guess, for the Xbox One, is actually
Is
looking much stronger.
yeah.
But I think Sony still has time to show their hand a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the weird Japanese games to start
Yeah,
flowing
that
in.
I guess that's mostly what I'm interested in too. But for people who are looking for exclusives and I think like the multiplayer shooter type experience on console, I
Yeah,
think the Xbox One's increasingly looking like a better option for them.
yeah.
Because they're not even going to have Titanfall and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, but I think at this point it's a much better contest, and they both have their pluses and minuses. So I'm definitely interested to see where it goes. Because I can't say it'll be a slaughter anymore for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, Microsoft's back on their feet here,
It's always
but
fun to
I
watch.
still think there's some steps behind.
Yeah, and it's always fun to watch like that real cutthroat competition that like we saw at E3 that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't really want Microsoft to like get stomped on at the market because competition will always improve the quality of the products that get put out. So
Mhm.
it's definitely better for everybody that both sides put out a good product and support it well. So yeah, that probably does it for gaming news. I think
But
we're gonna. Well,
but
yeah.
wait,
Uh, and a very important game came out this month, but neither of us are qualified to talk about its important points. So we're gonna jump off here real quick, bring on a special guest,
first
and
ever
return
guest on the Human
first ever
Instrumentality podcast.
guest, and return for uh, an interview about this important game. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. Your host HunterJawa and my good friend Vanillafish have returned, and with us is a very special guest, Victor.
Hello.
This week we brought on a special guest because neither of us own a PS3. We're not expert gamists, but a very important game, The Last of Us, developed by Naughty Dog, came out this month, and we needed somebody to share the important news with you all.
it must be discussed. Word must get out.
I've heard
And
this
I haven't
game.
played it.
I've heard this game is pretty ballin' though. So if you want to just give us your impressions and if you have any questions, we can just throw them at you. Go ahead.
Oh, I would love to talk about The Last of Us. Where to begin? Well, first off, if you're not familiar with the game, you play as a guy named Joel. I don't want to spoil anything, but the game is an absolute heart-wrenching adventure from start to finish. The acting is superb. Just beat it 2 days ago. You know, it's great. You have to really take your time with the game, explore the environment, because more than the characters and the beautifully written script tells the story, the world really just lays it out. It's phenomenal from start to finish. You never know who's gonna live, who's gonna die. You're into it 100%, and it's phenomenal. Probably my favorite PlayStation 3 game to date.
That's
All right.
that's bold.
Cool.
It is.
One thing I've had trouble understanding just looking at the marketing and videos of the game and stuff is like what genre you would call it. It seems like it has like elements of survival horror, but also some like legacy stuff from Uncharted. So if you had to say what genre it was or like what kind of game it was, like how would you classify it?
I think you just nailed it right on the head. It's a kind of a combination of the two genres, survival horror and just kind of almost action adventure at times too. It's a mixture. You get best of many worlds in this game. It's truly to die for.
I have a few questions. First one, about how long did it take to beat it? Like, how long is it?
Taking my time with the game, it took me about 16 hours to get through it, first playthrough. And it does offer a Game Plus mode where you can go back and continue, so you can get double that, really. So you're looking at a solid 30-hour game.
I like the sound of that. Now, my other question is, I know Josh isn't a big fan, but Half-Life 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. And I've heard some comparisons that this is very reminiscent of Half-Life 2. Can you confirm or deny that?
I would say that it's reminiscent of it, but I'm not going to compare the two because Half-Life holds a special place in my heart, and I don't want to go there and upset any Valve fans here.
I've just heard, there's, like, the way, I don't know what they are, but, like, the zombie-type characters, it's, like, I guess there's some parallels, but that's all I heard. I hope it's
What
good.
he's asking is,
Not
do you
better.
get a gun that lets you pick up random crates in the environment and solve puzzles by stacking them?
You actually do not get that, unfortunately.
Wow, this game sounds completely overrated. One question I had was, in all the stuff I've seen, it seems like resource management, like I said, like in a sort of survival horror type way, is a big part of the game. Would you say that it's a really difficult game, or does the resource management kind of become a non-issue as you go along? Because on a lot of recent survival horror games, even Resident Evil, it seems like they've kind of included that, but just giving you so many items that it doesn't really matter by the end of the game.
Right, yeah. I mean, the way that you manage your inventory is pretty straightforward. I mean, any room you explore, you're going to find some stuff. So unless you're playing on a harder difficulty, it probably won't be an issue to constantly be crafting weapons and having health kits at the ready. It's a nice dynamic to the game, but I mean, it's not anything that's going to be, mind-blowing that you can craft weapons or, patch up melee weapons and stuff like that. It's a nice mechanic to have in the game, but I mean, it's not like your typical survival horror where you're like, let's say Metro Last Light or 2033, where you have to find bullets, in the craziest of places and really conserve your ammo. There's plenty of ammunition to go around, so you're not gonna be overwhelmed. The game isn't too difficult, but it is challenging.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty cool, because I know that it's definitely a game that tries to introduce like stress to the player, but it's not like overwhelmingly difficult or based on like micromanagement. So it could be like a cool balance between the two.
Right. I mean, as you play the game and you get deeper into it, you really just notice how everything just keeps getting worse, and you get really attached. Definitely the stress levels go up as the game gets deeper and deeper.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear that, like, you get very attached to, like, the two characters that the game focuses on, which is great.
Yeah, yeah, a huge relationship is definitely built between the two, and it's nice to see how there's almost flashbacks with the two characters, and in both their lives as you learn about them. It's really interesting to see how the story plays out, and it's really the first game I played where I actually 100% cared about almost every character that you do encounter in the game.
One last
Tall
thing.
order.
I've heard both good and bad about the multiplayer in the game. Have you tried it at all, or do you have anything to share about that?
I have played a couple matches in the multiplayer. I haven't explored it enough to really give a definitive opinion on it, but from what I've seen, it's pretty cool. It's almost just like taking the single player game minus
Yeah,
the
is it
story.
just the like just the single player like combat and just thrown with other people?
Yeah, pretty much. So if anyone has ever played the Uncharted games, it's going to be almost identical in the way that it works. It's pretty much the single player mechanics in combat, but you're just with your friends or whoever you're playing with online. But it's pretty fun. It's better. I would say it's better than probably the Uncharted multiplayer, but it's not anything too over the top.
Yeah, does the combat from single player, like, because I know probably the biggest draw, if it isn't the combat, it's probably the story of the game, the characters and whatnot, is the main like combat of the game. Is it good enough to stand on its own in a multiplayer mode where it's not going to be anywhere near as good as like the single player story is, but it's enough where it works and it's fun to play in a multiplayer setting?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's balanced enough where it's always entertaining, but it's not obviously as interesting and as fun to do as in the single player campaign. But it's definitely a blast to go up and execute people from behind and do the different grabs and counters and stuff. It's always a blast.
So,
So it's not the reason you put your reservation at the hotel, but it's like the continental breakfast, I guess. That's a real bad analogy, but
well, good, yeah, good
I
job.
like it. I like it. I would say that is 100% correct.
Fantastic.
A recent trend in games has definitely been like single player heavy focused games like that getting a multiplayer mode like announced at like the last second. Do you feel like that takes away from the game at all, or like you prefer the package just focused on what it was best at, or do you think that it's always like I don't know, an interesting addition to have multiplayer or worthwhile?
I think it's worthwhile if you like to play that kind of game online. I mean, for me, I couldn't care any less about the multiplayer. I'm all about the single player game. That's the draw to the game. That's why I bought it. So you're not going to find me online too much. But then again, a lot of people liked Uncharted multiplayer. A lot of people are playing The Last of Us online. It does have draw, and I think by them not really talking about multiplayer definitely helped everyone focus on the core of the game, which of course would be the single player.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it seems like the single player definitely doesn't disappoint in a way where you'd have to blame multiplayer for resources being diverted or anything like that.
yeah.
So, in this case, definitely it seems like it's pretty benign and maybe even a little bit fun.
Absolutely.
Any last thoughts on the game or tips to share with anybody?
I just have to say, from a marketing perspective, The Last of Us, I think, hit it head on. You didn't hear too much about the game before it was released. It was released right after E3, and even at E3, I heard it was blowing up the booth. So
Yeah, which is weird.
yeah, I think they did a really great job of kind of keeping this game under the radar. So everybody was asking questions about it, and everybody couldn't wait to play because obviously sales are showing that they did the right thing there. I think
Yeah.
everyone with the PlayStation 3, if you haven't picked it up already, you definitely should. It's probably going to be the last hurrah for the PlayStation 3 with the PlayStation 4 coming out very soon.
All right, sweet.
I definitely
thanks.
want to play this.
Yeah, me too. So hopefully someday in the future I'll get the opportunity, but definitely thanks for coming on and talk to us about it.
Oh, absolutely. I will
Our
come on
first ever
anytime.
guest.
Maybe more guests in the future. Who knows? But yeah, thanks.
Maybe Vic will be back.
All right, sounds good, fellas.
See you later.
Thank you.
Welcome back. That was a wonderful interview with our PS3 correspondent, Vic,
AKA Dusseldorf.
aka Dusseldorf. And it sounds like The Last of Us is looking pretty good, so check that out if you're interested. It's very important now that the games are out of the way. We get to the
Move that bullshit aside.
meat and potatoes.
Sweep it under the goddamn rug.
It's actually because of our E3 special last week. It's been 2 weeks since the boys got together and threw down about some good old anime.
the most important thing on the goddamn planet.
I know last week you were probably feeling a little bit lost, a little bit confused,
They
but
talked for 2 hours and didn't mention a Japanese fucking cartoon?
well, does Final Fantasy 15 count?
No.
No. Okay. Well then, no. We didn't mention any. But now we're gonna break them all down.
Actually, I bet if someone go back, listen to that entire 2 hour podcast, I bet at one point someone talks like at least a little bit about anime. So if you go back and find that, kudos.
If you can comment
But
with the exact timestamp of when it was mentioned, you will win a prize of $100 US.
I will eat my words on camera.
Also that, but $100 US for you. Subject to tax as well.
Yeah.
So
We don't ship across seas too.
no, we don't actually ship anywhere outside of like a mile from my house.
Yeah, you have to come pick it up.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
paying for gas.
we could do like a dead drop or something like that, but I don't know if you're up for it.
It's up to you.
So the past 2 weeks have been, I would say, in 3 words, very eventful, very important, and very fast paced
Yes.
for Attack on Titan.
No.
Just kidding. Nothing has happened. If you were worried that you weren't gonna get some perspective on what's going on, don't even fret. Since we last talked about it, we're
Nothing has
basically at
happened.
the same spot. To be fair, this most recent episode, this week's episode, which I think was 12,
Yeah, 12.
actually wasn't that bad. It felt like at least a substantial half to a story that can be finished in the next episode.
Yeah.
And I think that if the prior like 3 episodes had been condensed into one, like they maybe should have,
Yeah,
we wouldn't
I,
feel so down on
these
this one.
past like 4 episodes, I feel like could have been 1.5.
Because it takes 3 weeks to get from recovering Eren from death to moving this fucking rock.
I just want to keep it, and in just about like 20 minutes of an episode was spent contemplating about what they were going to do while people were reloading a cannon for 30 seconds. 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was a little weird. And then the
20
next week,
minutes.
what I don't get, I feel like episode, I guess it was 11, was just completely unnecessary in every way.
Yes.
Because in episode 10, they introduced the plan that Eren's going to move this rock and block the gate, and that's how he's going to leverage this power. And the stakes are high. Like, if they go with this plan, it's going to be risky as fuck. But he's like, I don't even know if I can do this, but I have to try. And so at that point, at the end of that episode, the stakes are like at their highest. You're like, oh shit, how's this going to go? And then the entire next episode is spent trying to raise the stakes even more for what you already know what the plan is. Like, it's fine. Like, you don't have to spend 20 minutes saying, like, this will be our first victory, many will die, but this is super important. Like, you know what? We get it. Just like, you
Just go
already
pick
told
up
us,
the fucking rock.
you already told us what the plan was, and at that point, the stakes and the tension are at the highest point they're going to get to, because you know everything you need to know. So there's just no reason to, like, pussyfoot around and make unnecessary speeches about the plan that you already know about. That's all I gotta say. But to be fair, episode 12 starts the plan in motion.
Yeah.
You see it from a couple of different angles, and I feel like next week it will definitely come to a conclusion. I suspect a rock will be placed in a different location.
I hope. All I'm going to say is the only reason I could tolerate this is we got to see more John on screen.
Yeah, I actually liked his segment this week. He
My favorite character so far.
It's not exactly relevant, but he's in a bad spot with his rope 3D gear not working correctly, and he's contemplating pulling the gear off of some dead guy to survive. I always like scenes like that where they show you all the elements coming together, and
Yeah.
some guy's gonna make a tough decision that might go against his morals and stuff. But to criticize it real quick, I can't say that was a good scene because it fucking cuts off right when everything's established, and that's it. So we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
The pacing was so good, and now it's so bad.
Yeah, the first 4 parts of the Defense of Trost arc felt like really strongly paced. Like they killed off the main character in the first part, and from there on, it was like the struggle of all the other characters, and then finally the reintroduction of that character at the end, in a really cool moment. And then after that, it doesn't go anywhere until like the end of this episode.
I'm just really bummed because episode 14 is a recap episode. So,
Oh, really?
yep,
And after that, there's only 10 more episodes.
yep.
Huh.
But
Well,
this is totally gonna get a second season.
yeah. I just wanted to mention earlier, I was starting to say this. In a prior episode, I mentioned that my favorite type of episode is when, even though it's part of a larger story, the 20 minutes tells its own story from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this show was doing that really well at first, and now is just not even trying. It feels like, and I know this is an adaptation, and people have mentioned that the first few episodes are, adapting about like up to 4 chapters of the manga at once, and the most recent episodes are adapting like 1 chapter, which is like 20-ish, pages.
Yeah.
So I really prefer when like a complete narrative or character arc or even like event happens at the beginning from the beginning to the end, and you see like a complete story. But that's definitely not the case with these past few, so that's a little disappointing. But I still have hopes that it can recover, and definitely I hope that it recovers budget wise.
Oh yeah. Well, once the first Blu-ray comes out, consider this funded for life.
Yeah, probably. I think no matter what happens, the popularity it's gathered so far can't be died down that easily. So
yeah,
all maybe will. Who knows? It's also been 2 weeks since we throw down and talk about Susei no Gargantia.
Shit happened.
And just going off of like pacing and storytelling, now the Titans kind of gone down the shitter. I'm feeling like this is probably my favorite show of the season.
Most certainly. And it bums me out that I couldn't go on the podcast last week and make my prediction that came true this week.
Well, make your prediction now, and I can tell you if it's true or not.
Commander Kugel was dead the whole time.
Dude, you're fucking right. He was dead the whole time.
Also, if you haven't watched this show yet, you should have paused and like skipped over like 10 seconds.
It's full spoilers. It's fine.
All right.
So yeah, the past few weeks have been a story with Leto finally discovering, what the Hideas were. He's conflicted, and then he reunites with that dude from episode 1, Commander Kugel, who's kind of built this weird anti-alien cult that's up to no good. They want to attack Gargantia. They want to kill all the human squids. They want to yell at the sky when it starts raining.
They want to throw people in the ocean.
They want to throw people in the ocean and drown them because I don't even know why they did that. They're just dicks. But yeah, it seems like they're really no good. And I think the cult is kind of like on the nose, like really dramatic representation of the ideals that the main character is against in this case. But I really like the moments where like you see how this religious cult is like in a parallel to the society that Leto came from.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one was when it starts raining and they all start like shouting at the sky in worship. Leto asks like, "What's happening?" And Chambers says, "Oh, it's just raining. We've seen this before." Like as a machine, he doesn't see anything wrong with this situation or this society.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like people operating at their most efficient to him. So he can't see what's going wrong. He just says, "Oh, it's raining." So that was.
I think Chamber's been like the best character in this like series.
And when I saw that scene, I thought that Chamber was gonna, become an antagonist of some kind because
I didn't think at all he would side with Leto at all.
But at the end of the day, he is a machine, and he's under the command of his superior officer, which is Leto. And I feel like they had a really great bro moment when Leto asks if, despite everything, he'll fight with him, and he says, "Hey, man, it's up to you." So they did go up and fight this week, and it was a
very well animated fight too. I
think.
Maybe
Maybe that explains why last week looked like shit.
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot went into the fight in this episode. And I mentioned earlier about this show, they really uh, they really held back when they could have gone too far with all the robot stuff. And I felt like this was the right time to really break out and get that all out of the way. So they got all the character drama. They gave it the proper amount of time, and now they just blow some stuff up with some robots. I think the pacing works that way.
And the stage is set for the last episode, and they're gonna use what did they say that key was called?
The Stairway to Heaven. The
I don't think it was the Stairway to Heaven.
No, it was the Stairway to Heaven. Well, in the subtitles, it was the Stairway to Heaven.
I really? I thought it
Yeah,
was like something else. Yeah, like Heaven's Elevator or something. I don't know.
that song gets referenced in like every anime, so it's not that
Maybe.
weird. There's an episode in Cowboy Bebop named after it.
You're
There's an
right.
episode in Evangelion named after it.
You're right.
It's just everywhere. So they're gonna be knock knocking on heaven's door.
Shut
Uh,
up. All right, right now, place your bets. What is it?
some people have pointed out that the design on the top looks like a squid, like a Hideoz. So it could be like something the evolvers left behind, some kind of weapon. I also saw some people theorize that it had something to do with the space portal
Yeah,
that the
I'm
Alliance built.
thinking Warp Gate.
But I would really dislike that if that happened.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I'm thinking what could happen is it's a Warp Gate, and then the Alliance shows up and they just start slaughtering people.
yeah, like why would they do that? Why would they purposefully call that down on themselves?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's either a giant turn everyone into squids machine type deal.
That would suck too.
It's a super weapon. Maybe it makes Gargantia fly. I don't know.
Um, what I would like, and I hope this is true, the alliance, both the alliance and the evolvers definitely had like some advanced weaponry that we even see it starting to get restored in this episode.
Hmm.
I could see the key somehow being like the startup for like a weaponized satellite or something like that, like something you can't access on Earth, but
Yeah.
you have a connection to in space that can really fuck shit up, but you can only use it once or something.
Didn't what destroyed the Warp Gate that the Alliance left on?
They blew it up themselves.
Maybe what if it was that weapon that blew up the Warp Gate?
No, I think well actually I don't think they show what happens to it.
Maybe that's
The
it.
Yeah, maybe
You heard it here first.
the plan was for the alliance to leave Earth and blow up their portal so that the evolvers couldn't follow them. And the evolvers got super pissed and they said, "We're gonna go on a galactic conquest and conquer shit." So they went through the portal with them. But they don't actually show it blowing up, so I guess that's always a possibility.
We
I
will
wouldn't be a
see.
fan of it. Yeah,
But
we'll
this
see.
is definitely shaping up to be like the best show of the season. It's a shame that they wasted some of the earlier episodes on like kind of fan servicey stuff.
Uh, I wouldn't say they really spent too much time on it. Like there is a beach episode, but
Yeah.
it all of those episodes that are quieter on the
Are
fleet.
yeah, those are fine. It's just I guess that one sticks out to me. Like I would have liked it spent on something like a little bit more.
But they all contribute to the main character's
Yeah,
like
they do.
growth. Like he's this person from this different society, and it's pretty typical decision to have a beach episode. But even that one had to do with his wanting to have a duty in society, and the next one where there was all the dancing and he learns about money was all about his learning to have like human desires and his own like aspirations in life. Like they all add a piece to the puzzle.
I see. Now here's the ultimatum: one or the other. Will this be healing or will it be suffering?
I'm gonna put my money on start off with a little good old dose of suffering, and then there's at the end some healing,
I agree.
which I think that'd be pretty unique if in Urobuchi he didn't actually write the whole show, but he
Didn't he
was
write the
involved.
first and the last episodes?
Oh, did he write the last episode?
I did think he definitely wrote the last episode.
Well, fuck. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would be a first. That would be a first for sure if the last episode had a completely happy ending. But maybe he has it inside of his heart. I don't know.
Who if someone's gonna die, who do you think it is? I think if anyone's gonna die, it's gonna be Leto.
I think Pinion will die.
Do you think?
Yes.
He's been throwing out them flags.
I feel like I feel like it would wrench my heart, and that he's totally capable of it. That Amy could die, but it would just feel incomplete to me if it ended without those two getting back together. Because that was the
Then
original.
then is
Pair.
Amy's brother fair game?
Totally. He's defenseless.
Watch out.
Yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that all comes together. But
Dope
on the
ass
whole,
show.
it's definitely been solid throughout, which is probably more than can be said about basically any other show this season.
I will say
So
the other show that I like as much as Gargantia. We at episode 64 right now. We might be at 63. I don't know. But all I'm gonna say is, spoilers. If you ain't 64 episodes in Space Brothers right now, I'm gonna spoil you though. The person who's basically responsible for like for giving the two brothers the dream to go to space. She's showing symptoms of ALS. That's
what
pretty
is that?
bad.
What's the
Uh,
else?
Lou Gehrig's disease. It's I think it. I'll Google it. I don't want to be wrong here, but it's a muscle disease, I believe.
So she's like an older.
She's she's older. Yeah, she's an astronomer, and she's the one who um gave him the dream to go to space. And how this plays in is one of the other astronaut um candidates from Japan, the main love interest of the main character, her father died of ALS, and her reason for being an astronaut is to go to the ISS and do research on it because it's not curable in its current state. And the character who was just showed the symptoms of it was her idol as well, and she's the one who diagnosed her with. So things are
All right.
getting
Well, rest
pretty
in
heavy.
peace.
But let's see.
Well, in the meantime, did you finish watching Red Data Girl?
No, I didn't. So
Okay. Do you mind if I talk about the ending at all?
talk about it. Maybe I'll watch it.
Uh,
Basically, well, real quick, ALS basically, I guess it shuts down your muscles and it's not curable, so you die. So
Right.
things are getting heavy.
as I predicted with Red Data Girl, the ending is not some kind of explosive, apocalyptic, save the world scenario. It's all about character building for the main character, and there's not much to really say about it plot wise because it's pretty straightforward. But I think that it definitely delivered on what I wanted from the ending. And as a PA work show with my expectations fairly low, it definitely delivered like a satisfying story from beginning to end.
That's good.
So the ending is like the main character kind of discovers that she is that the Himigami, this thing that she's feared and in the future may destroy all of humanity. And she kind of has to, in the episode where the Himigami talks to, what's his name, Sagara, she says
Yeah,
that
I think.
the reason that she's come back through time is that she wants to find somebody who will restrain her from doing what she does. And she has to like accept help from others to do that. And at the beginning of the series, you see that main character is not a person who's capable of that.
Hmm.
She's like shut in, hides behind her glasses, doesn't interact with people, that sort of thing. And at the end, she finally, lets her hair down and is willing to reach out to somebody else for help. And they leave, ambiguous what'll happen with it in the future, but you get the idea that in that moment, things have changed, and that the future could be a brighter situation. So,
Well, I'm excited to watch the last 3 episodes that I
you're 3
skipped
behind.
Yeah, I'm pretty far behind.
But yeah, it's like I said, it's not some kind of explosive ending, and the world doesn't really get saved. But it's cool how they don't show all the cards, and they kind of just bring the character arc to an end. And
So it was a
leave the
good like
rest
12 episode series.
Yeah, for sure. Like if they had made it 24 and tried to show everything, I feel like it would be kind of dumb. But what they show is the important parts. So
Huh.
props on that. I think 12 episode series are pretty underrated.
Yeah,
People,
hey, for me, I think 13 is the perfect number.
right? People think that 13 is not enough time because they're used to watching 26 or 24 or whatever. But I feel like if you have your Guilty Crowns or your Titans,
That
you
fuck
probably
up.
need like half that time to tell a really decent story arc. And if it's popular enough, you could get another season or whatever. But You don't need to stretch things beyond their their staying time. And that's the same with Gargantia. It's 13 episodes, and it feels like a perfect story arc.
Oh yeah. And hey, one of my favorites of all time, the Tatami Galaxy, did it in 11.
Oh wow, that was only 11.
Yeah, only 11.
I thought it was 12.
Nope. If you haven't watched that, please do. Do yourself a fucking
Yeah,
favor.
it's a cool show. Did you have any? If you want to wrap this up real quick, with the most important show, do you have any thoughts now that you've gotten started watching Yu Yu Shiki?
Um, it's giving me my fill of my usual every season. I know Josh, you like to do this too. Every season, you gotta watch that cute girls doing cute things in high school show. You gotta. And I'll just say this fits the bill perfectly. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's perfect.
Some people say the show is too boring because the premise is the girls kind of just sit down and discuss things they look up on the internet.
I say nay.
Yeah, I say fuck that. Because, one thing I really like about the show actually is that the characters are not deep. I'm not gonna say that, but they don't slide into stereotypical roles at first glance.
Yeah.
You can't just look at one and say, "Oh, that one's a tsundere, that one's a yandere or whatever." You know, they're not like deep characters, but they're very bizarre and I would say a little bit unique. So the conversations they have always feel genuinely random, and not just in topics, but in the way they go, almost like a natural conversation.
Mhm.
You know, you could talk about the way you eat a cornet for a long time,
Yeah. Hey, I've eaten one.
but where else could that go? You know, I don't know. Look it up on the internet, discover something else. Uh, the sexual undertones are sometimes a little off-putting.
Well, they lay it on thick.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes. And I'm not really sure how much of it comes down to translation and how much of it comes down to that it's a late night television program. But at the end of the day, they really don't. There's no actual fan service proper. It's all just teasing and some weird conversation about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't at the wait. What episode are you on?
8,
So
9.
you've seen the beginnings of some of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
If it feels like it comes out of nowhere around that at that point in the show.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I guess so.
Like it goes from teasing to like slightly more serious.
To
But
be talking about some serious shit.
but it kind of has fallen back in the most recent ones. So I
Yeah.
feel like it was just an anomaly. I don't know. I'm not totally against it because there's comedy value there, but that's definitely not the
No.
appeal of the show.
How about we go rapid fire through everything else? Uh, that one with the really long title about the guy who's antisocial.
Oh yeah, that ended. Oh no, there's one more.
It's aight. Poor guy. That's all I'm
I-
gonna say about that.
It's like high school Batman.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
You know, he'll take it because he's our Dark Knight.
Is he
That's
here we need?
that's my review of that show, High School Batman.
High School Batman.
Wait, I should clear this up. He doesn't actually fight or anything. He just makes himself look like a huge asshole to help other people out. So good on you.
Oriemo? Fuck that. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, big developments this week. I actually got wrecked.
Stupid developments. That show, that's on my shit list. I will say one thing. Choice quote from our good friend Alberto on Twitter an hour ago. Watching Oriemo, why can't I be pimp like Kyosuke? True dat, son.
I think last time we talked about this show, I mentioned that I wasn't so into the actual sexual lust between the two siblings, and I'm still not. So it feels like that's like the one way that it's going at this point. So
Yeah.
there's some good stuff here, but like as a premise, that went from kind of like cute to annoying. I don't know.
Not for me. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I feel like there's a story out there that a really good writer could write and make you like get behind a relationship between two siblings.
This is not that.
But this is like there's no justification here. It's literally just it exists for that purpose. So yeah, I don't know.
All
It's
right,
not a
moving
bad
on.
show. All right.
Haneko? Yeah, that just gets wackier every week.
It's funny they introduced time travel in the second to last episode because why not?
Hey, it is what it is. I like it for what it is.
I'll
Pretty
say this:
wacky episode.
that show can be boring as hell, but they always keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
They're always like no matter like throughout the series they're introducing new stuff every single week. So props for the creativity there. It's a little wacky. Some of the jokes aren't so good, but overall I enjoy it and I like how they keep it mixed up.
Yeah. All I'm gonna say is 2003 was 10 years ago. It's a while.
Yeah,
In case
I like the accurate date.
if you didn't know that, I didn't. And then lastly, we have Devil's Part-Timer. I thought it was a fun episode.
Yeah, the last one was like a big fight or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, towards the end. All right.
So it felt pretty reminiscent of the other time they had a big fight.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I just feel like that show's such a waste.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of not completing like a nice arc in 12 episodes, 13 episodes.
And it's primarily supposed to be a comedy show, so that really wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, but
But by their own accord, they went for this kind of weird drama route, and they're just bad at it. And the premise, the premise is that the devil is working at a fast food restaurant, and there's like none of that ever.
well, he's always doing it off screen.
Yeah,
It's always
like
at work.
I understand that working a part-time job is not like the most exciting premise in the world, but what you're selling is that you're making it a funny and an entertaining scenario. But that's not in the show at all. I don't know. I feel like I was promised one thing and I got another thing.
Yeah.
And they tried, but it's fucking mediocre.
And that's. Did anything else come out?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
What's on the plate for next week?
On the plate, well, we'll talk about some big finales.
Oh yeah,
Season finale for Titan, the ending of Gargantia. I think the ending of Yu Yu Shiki. Oh my god, where's it gonna go? Where's the plot gonna end up? I don't even know.
then do you want to talk expectations, things we're looking forward to for next season?
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into that a little
How
bit.
about just a giant anime blowout spectacular? Fuck games.
Nobody even likes video games.
Why did we even have Vic come on and talk about video games? We should have talked. He should have came in here and talked for 40 minutes about Gargantia. That's what we needed.
All right, next week we're gonna have Vic on. We'll both turn off our mics just to make up for what happened. He'll talk about Gargantia for about 40 minutes. Then we'll come back on.
That'll be next week's show. Good night.
So look forward to it. This is HunterJawa signing off.
This is Vanillafish, aka
Go ahead.
it's gonna come to me. I'm just gonna look around for ideas here. AKA external hard drive. Good night.
Good night.